right. Is the press ready? All right. Well, good afternoon. I want to first thank Secretary Noem, the Department of Homeland Security, all of our federal partners that have been working with us in both dealing with the tragedies of the New Year's terrorist attack and the upcoming security for the Super Bowl. I also want to thank GOSEP, LSP, Louisiana National Guard, and all of our state agencies who are working with us in conjunction with the mayor and the city of New Orleans and all officials at the city of New Orleans and NOPD and the chief in again preparing for this world-class event. I'm also hoping that the Senate will quickly confirm Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. They, along with Kristi Noem, are very important to addressing the security needs and supporting law enforcement in this country and in the state of Louisiana. We had a great coordination meeting today. This meeting was called to ensure that basically everyone was on the same page. In addition to today's meeting, we have amended the state of emergency that was issued on January 1, 2025, and as all of you know, at approximately 3:15 a.m. on January 1st, 2025, an individual drove a pickup truck bearing an ISIS flag into a crowd of people on Bourbon Street in a targeted act of terrorism, resulting in a mass casualty incident. We continue to work with the victims and their families and keep them in our prayers. This terrorist was found to have placed improvised explosive devices, and you may hear the acronym IED, and that's what that stands for, in his vehicle, as well as two other IEDs in personal coolers that he transported to the city and placed in high traffic areas, God bless you, in the first quarter. We have been working closely with Secretary Kristi Noem and the Department of Homeland Security and other federal partners in both Mardi Gras and the Super Bowl are SEER 1 events. That means that Mardi Gras has been upgraded to a SEER 1 event. A SEER 1 event is a significant event in national or international importance and requires extensive federal interagency support and resources. In anticipation of the significantly high density crowds in the days leading up to and following the Super Bowl, the need for higher security measures to ensure public safety and the safety of residents, athletes, and visitors, there is a need to safely control what comes in and out of vulnerable areas. So what is in the new executive order? The Louisiana State Police will develop and publish to the public the specific geographical boundaries of the enhanced security zone around the French Quarter. We have it here on the display. Now this is in addition to the enhanced security zone that is around the Superdome, which is controlled by the Department of Homeland Security in conjunction with the NFL. It's important for the public to understand that there are two different enhanced security zones and that they have different restrictions in each. The checkpoint in the French Quarter enhanced security zone, there will be checkpoints that are set up at each entry to prevent and deter the introduction of any destructive explosive materials. Coolers and ice chests of any kind will be prohibited in our enhanced security zone. So in the French Quarter, coolers and ice chests will be prohibited. Any bags or containers larger than 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches, which is basically the size of a lady's clutch, are subject to search by law enforcement prior to entering the enhanced security zone. I think that this is important. We have worked very hard. I want to thank the Attorney General's office, our legal counsel in the governor's office, Angelique Frio and her team. They have worked hard to balance security with the freedom to enjoy yourself in public spaces. So let me explain how this works. If an officer at the enhanced security checkpoint in the quarter asks to search your bag that you're carrying in excess of the size limitations that I just went over, you're free to refuse it, but you are not free to enter. Make sure you understand. So if you will not allow them to search it, you will not be allowed to enter. If a police officer, if you go through the enhanced security zone and they don't check your bag, whether they checked it before, and a police officer asks to see what's in your bag, you again are free to tell them no. However, you may be removed from that enhanced security zone. So again, we want cooperation with the public in balancing freedoms to enjoy the quarter with the need for these heightened security measures based upon the threat level that we saw on January 1. Public notices will be placed at each of the enhanced security zone checkpoints, and we will be posting more information publicly if the policy changes. So we would encourage people to watch their social media and stay tuned. Jacques, are they going to be on the Get the Game Plan app?
Yes, sir, I will.
So if you have the Get the Game Plan app and you go into the Super Bowl and you want to know what's the latest on security measures, you should be able to find it there. This enhanced security zone that we're going to place in the quarter will be deployed or operational starting Wednesday, February the 5th through February 10th. That means it will be covering the entirety of the Super Bowl weekend. You know, public safety requires constant communication. That's what we were doing today, making sure that everyone was on the same page. But this also means that the public has a part or a role in public safety. Public safety is a team sport. Just like football, just like basketball, soccer, it's a team sport. And while we are leading an unprecedented state, local, and federal effort to protect this event, we need your help. So here's the phrase: if you see something, say something. It will be hard for me to imagine that if you see something, you will not be able within in sight see a law enforcement official. So if you see something, say something. You may call the 1-800 phone number at the Louisiana State Fusion Center, which is 1-800-434-8007. That's 1-800-434-8007. You can also use the lsp.org website, or you can download and utilize the CSend app. The CSend app. You can download the CSend app. If you see something, we ask you to say something. Vigilance on the part of the public is a very, very powerful tool in stopping acts of violence. In fact, it is proven that when the public is engaged in these types of events, those that seek to create mass casualty events will seek another place to do that. That is how important the public's role is in this. So just as we come together in major weather events, like the recent ice storm, which let me again thank the public for heeding the caution and the warnings that we had put out and keeping everyone off the road. I think it went over greatly. I mean, again, we had very little loss of property and life. Whether it be a major hurricane, a flood, or any other natural disasters, we come together. This is the same type of cooperation we need from those who are going to be in the city of New Orleans on that day. The tragic attack on New Year's Day is another example that when we come together, we can come out even stronger. we can be one team with one fight in a very resilient Louisiana. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Did you mention there were going to be 2 enhanced security zones? I see the French Quarter, but what is the other one?
Yeah, so there's going to be an enhanced security zone that's placed around the NFL experiences. So like, there's going to be a footprint around the Superdome, there's going to be a footprint around the NFL experience and other venues. So, and those will have other traffic control points as well. There will be other restrictions. We've asked I think the Department of Homeland Security and the NFL are putting that information out. They haven't put it out already, they're putting it out shortly. One of the instructions that I gave to the agencies when we were in there was to ensure that we amplify the NFL and the Department of Homeland Security's measures in regards to that enhanced, in regard to those enhanced security zones, because those restrictions are going to be more onerous. In other words, you will not be able to bring a backpack in. You will not be able, I think all the persons and whatnot have to be clear. Basically, as I appreciate, and I'll probably get in trouble here because I don't know all the details, but y'all guys cut me some slack, is that it's very, very similar to what you will be required to enter the Superdome.
So just to clarify, you said that the information about the second enhanced security zone will be coming out shortly. That'll be coming from the Department of Homeland Security and the NFL. So are those the entities that are sort of responsible for setting those parameters?
That is correct. In a Tier 1 event like that, everyone takes certain responsibility. And when you're in the NFL, and this is not new, okay? Like, I think, what's the Super Bowl? 60, what's our number? 59. We'd like 60 to be back in New Orleans, by the way. But this is not new, okay? This is not anything new under the sun. During the Super Bowl events, there is a footprint that is established between the Department of Homeland Security in conjunction with the NFL, and they dictate those restrictions. We work with them. So inside of that enhanced security zone will be state and local law enforcement and other agencies that will be working in coordination with the Department of Homeland Security and federal partners inside that enhanced security zone. So as you move closer, maybe this is an easy way to think about it. As you move closer to the Superdome, the security restrictions are enhanced. Fair?
2 questions for you, Governor. The first one, can you talk about if it was difficult to get all of the law enforcement agencies on the same page, state, federal, and local, considering that we have this upgraded security measure now with Super Bowl and Mardi Gras?
Look, as a former sheriff's deputy, I can tell you it's always difficult to bring different agencies together. Over the last 8 years as Attorney General and now as the governor, I have consistently worked to try to eliminate any of those particular barriers and then start to include both the other sections of the criminal justice system, let's just say. Because the criminal justice system sits on a 3-legged stool. So you have law enforcement, which you're talking about, you have the prosecutorial end, and then you have the judicial end. And so we've worked hard to try to keep everybody together. And I will tell you, they are to be commended. Everyone from NOPD through the Louisiana Sheriff's Association, through all of the state agencies, I think that we have seen a level of cooperation between agencies that of the likes we have not seen in the state in a long, long time. I'm happy to brag on them with that. Yes, ma'am.
Governor, this is mainly for Super Bowl weekend, but can you talk about any of the ongoing enhanced security that would be going on during all of Mardi Gras?
Yeah, look, I'm going to tell you what I keep telling them, because I'm getting that same question from our agencies. We are going to focus on the Super Bowl right now. We then will pivot, once we get through the Super Bowl, to Mardi Gras. We'll give you plenty to write about.
So how has I know the after-action report for the...
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay,
sorry.
yes, ma'am.
So, Governor, I know you said you're talking about Mardi Gras, and you'll think about that later, but do you anticipate any other enhanced security zones downtown in that area for the Super Bowl? And speak to the confidence you have in the plan that is in place as we speak.
So let me make sure, you're asking if
If there will be,
any additional?
yes.
I couldn't tell you that, I don't know, all of those are gonna be built upon intelligence and threat levels, right? And as we adjust those policies, we'll put those out to you. And to the second part of that, look, I don't know that the general public and the press fully appreciates how much work was put into and the labor that was exercised during the New Year's Day attack. We balanced the need of the victims, their families, a criminal investigation, a terrorist investigation, and then put on basically a major event almost 24 hours later. Now, that's pretty remarkable. That tells me that we've got a good team in place. That tells me that I have a high degree of confidence in the cooperation that we're getting between the local agencies such as the City of New Orleans and NOPD and our federal partners, that this is going to be an unprecedented and safe event. Now, nothing is 100%. But I'm going to tell you, we're doing it every day. We are going through every one of the checklists to see if we have missed something. And when we miss something, we're addressing it.
Governor,
Let's see. Wait, hold on. We're going to go back on you on the second round. Yeah, go.
I'm curious what sort of dialogue the state or the city has had with other areas around the world or the country that have been the victims of terrorist attacks and during festivals or parades or other high traffic events.
Look, I would say that, wait, that is the city or us or?
The state or the city, other countries, states.
Look, we rely on our federal partners. Both the FBI and Homeland Security and other federal agencies have reach into countries from around the world. They are constantly working on best practices that they then bring back to us. I know that the mayor has engaged with the business community in conjunction with the federal government to try to train them on things to look at. Again, because the public has a very important role in helping secure sites like this. So we would rely on that information through our federal partners.
Governor, could you provide an update on services and capacity currently at the temporary homeless center on France Road, and whether there's a timeline for standing those operations down?
Yeah, look, my appreciation is that we got 176 souls still in that facility. As far as the services, I can promise you that the services they're receiving there are exponentially better than the ones they were receiving on the street. And what happens after the Super Bowl and Mardi Gras, I'd rather not get into because we haven't gotten through the Super Bowl. And then from the Super Bowl, we got to get through Mardi Gras, but I'm sure we'll be able to put that information out. Do you have a follow-up with that?
Just so the intent would be to keep that shelter operating through Mardi Gras?
That is our,
Yes, sir.
that is our intent, yeah. I believe it's a 60-day,
Yes, sir.
65.
We have 200.
Yep,
200,000.
there you go, yep. And we got 176.
Last question.
Well, we'll go through this one and that one, and then we should be clear if we got a follow, because I know she's, yeah, go ahead.
Governor, have you authorized the use of the Louisiana National Guard in these security plans, at least for the Super Bowl?
Absolutely,
If so, how many troops are we
200?
expecting to?
250.
yeah,
And
yeah.
what would their role be?
Look, I think that we saw, and again, as a former member of the Louisiana National Guard, I was never proud of our soldiers, because they were called into action right in the midst of the terrorist attack on January 1 and did an outstanding job of being integrated into the security measures that needed to be in place as we dealt with that terrorist attack on January 1. Because of that performance, we are deploying, I think, 350 more. And so, and their primary role will be to work as a force multiplier, especially as it involves the traffic control points or the checkpoints in enhanced security zones.
Is it 350 or is it 200?
Oh. It's 350. I think we had 150 the first, yeah. Well,
Does the mayor have anything to
I'll tell you.
Mayor
Sorry,
Control,
Bobby.
is there something that you'd like to say about the process and what you went through today? You were here for the day, I believe.
Well, I was here for the briefing, and thanks to Governor Landry. What I will say is that I am more than confident in the deployment strategy and the Forced Unified program that we are activating for Super Bowl, and even as we look at Mardi Gras season. I am pleased with those force multipliers or ways that we have never seen them in the city before. And also understanding that while the Super Bowl is a Tier 1 rated by the federal government, we're still going above and beyond what we've seen in the past as we've hosted, 10 previously. So this is our 11th, and I know that we're safer than we've ever been before. And I can also say that the NFL has stated that this has been the best coordinated effort that they've seen in the history of the NFL. So absolutely confident.
Thank you.
And we won 12. We won 12, right?
We won more than that.
Okay, last question.
Okay, thank you, Governor. It's a two-part question. So I know all of the focuses are primarily on New Orleans, but we'll have a lot of people who are staying in other areas like the North Shore and whatnot. So are there security measures planned for those areas as well? And then also, considering that we now have the after-action report from GOSEP, how has that helped shape this wide plan that we have right now?
Look, I think it's important for everyone in the state of Louisiana to realize that the efforts that we're going through here give us an opportunity to project those efforts in other cities based upon a need. Each one of these efforts create a learning experience for our law enforcement agents. We are making sure that we don't neglect any part of the state to ensure that in the cities of Shreveport and Monroe and Ruston and North Louisiana and Central Louisiana and Southwest Louisiana, we're not robbing SRT teams without replacing SRT teams, is my appreciation. We understand that this puts a strain on resources, but I can tell you, we have had a lot of cooperation from the federal government in bringing resources in. It is my hope that we will be seeing the Secretary of Homeland Security come in next week for a briefing as well, and we're going to put on a great Super Bowl. Thank y'all.
Do you have anything, a quick comment on the president rescinding the budget freeze?
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, look. We wholeheartedly appreciate and understand what the president is trying to do. I was at an educational press conference early, and the teachers understood exactly what he was doing, because we have regulated ourselves to dysfunction in this country and in this state. And what he's trying to do is clear out the dead wood, which if they'd have done that in California, maybe the place wouldn't have burned down. Okay? And so that's in an effort. I think this is important for the American citizens to understand. What he's trying to do is make sure that federal dollars have the greatest impact on the programs that they support, and to ensure that we're not spending federal dollars again and again and again for the same amount of money. What we have seen is a deterioration of those services carte blanche, our roads, our bridges, our infrastructure, I mean, we just name it, our education. And so what the president and them are trying to do is get their hands around that dysfunction, and we wholly support it. My understanding is that they've rescinded the OMB order. I'm sure that they're going to be going back to the drawing board to try. Our message to the White House was to understand what the imminent impact was to states and ask them to help develop a runway under which we can cooperate with them. And I think all the governors should cooperate with them, because you know what? At the end of the day, regardless of who those governors are, what party they serve in, I can promise you they would greatly appreciate more federal dollars going into the state than being stuck in Washington for a program that belongs into the state. Thank you.
Governor, in
Thank
line
you,
with that, do
Governor.
you support the idea of getting rid of FEMA?